Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Scottish Roadscast, a podcast from the Scottish Roads Archive that delves into the history of Scotland's roads, bridges and motorways. I'm Stuart Baird and we're here in the Green Room podcast studios in central Glasgow, where for the very first time you can actually see us in vision as well as listening to us. I'm joined for this very special episode by my good friend and regular co-host John Hassall. John, great to see you, actually see you.
Great to see you in such wonderful surroundings on this cold Saturday morning.
I know, so great, we finally got there. People can watch us.
It's very professional.
It's fantastic,
I
know.
Yeah.
And all the way from Inverness, we're joined by regular archive guru Duncan Macknight. Duncan, how are you?
Greetings, one and all. How are we?
All good.
Feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good.
And thank you for making that long journey.
We're in a nice little living room set up here. I like it already. Can we have this all the time?
Yes, please, can we?
We'll see how we go. Now we've got an absolute ton of content to squeeze into this Christmas special episode of the podcast, and regular long-time listeners will know that we always try and do a bit more at this time of year. So we'll sort of be yapping away here for about 90 minutes.
You're getting your pound of flesh out of us today. Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll be coming over to Duncan first, as usual. He's going to tell us all about the history of the haul roads and the access roads to the Faslane Naval Base that were hugely upgraded back in the 1980s.
I know the ones. Yes.
Yep. So
They're
we've
great.
got that.
They're great.
Then we'll be coming to you, John. You're going to tell us a wee bit about the history of the A801 in West Lothian, that quirky wee bit of road that people are always asking us about.
That's a good road.
It's very near to where I live as well. So
Yeah.
yes, I've been on it recently. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yep, and then I'm going to talk a wee bit about the 60th anniversary of the start of construction on the M8 in Glasgow up at Townhead Interchange. It's 60 years this month since they started that. Yeah.
60 now.
So I thought we should probably recognise that as well, given we started
Back
with
to
that.
our
as well.
roots, that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
So
much
we're talking about that. We've invited lots of listener questions, and my God, we've got so many. I mean, usually we get maybe a handful this year.
I've not even seen
Yeah.
some of these, so this is going to be
We might
interesting.
need another podcast to
I know,
squeeze
just
them
to
all in.
answer
There's a
them.
lot,
So
but
we'll
we'll get through as many
intersperse
as we can.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
be
not-
interspersing those in
That is the
between
only thing I'm nervous
topics.
about, questions, but I'm sure they'll be good.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. Now, before we get into the sort of main subjects, I would like to do our acknowledgements for the year, if we can,
Yes.
just up
Yeah.
front. I'd like to say a huge thanks to Andy Carruthers and the team at Eastford Excavations for their ongoing support, not just for this year and for next year,
Thank
but
you very
indeed with the
much.
calendar printing as well, and also with some of the other wee bits and bobs we've been doing behind the scenes with Andy as well. So thank you for that. There is, of course, Nigel Duggan and the team at HBS Scotland for their ongoing support. We're very grateful for that. And of course the CIHT in Scotland for the collaboration and the formal working that we're doing with them as well. So thank you very much for their ongoing support. And indeed everyone who's purchased all the merchandise this year from the website, the calendar in particular, which has been our biggest ever.
Sales, yeah.
It's been very, very, very busy. Yeah.
I think it's been popular. We certainly think it was the best lineup of images we've ever had on there. So we were obviously delighted about that as well. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
for
Thank you
all
very
your
much.
all your support, and I guess for the last time, a big huge thank you to the organisers of the Roads Expo and Bridges Scotland in Glasgow, which we attended for a couple of days just last month.
That was superb.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Fantastic event. So many wonderful interactions with people. Got to meet some lovely people as well, by the way. Really delighted with how that went, and hopefully they'll have us back next year. But I just wanted to say thanks to Binda and Victoria and the team there for that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Right, okay, that's all that bit done then. Can tick
All
that
that
off on my list.
You make your way down, yeah.
We're going to come over to you now then for a
Me
wee sort of
next.
half-hour section then on these interesting haul roads.
These
What about
interesting-
Gairloch Head?
Yes. So we're up at Gairloch Head. There's kind of three roads that we're going to be discussing.
Now,
in
Gairloch Head, tell people where Gairloch Head is, because a lot of people might not know precisely where that is.
So if you start on the Clydeside Expressway on the A814 and you keep going up the Clydeside
It's
Expressway,
west
you'll
and west and
west,
west and
west, west, west. You'll
Through
go up
Dumbarton.
through Dumbarton. You keep
Through
going, keep
Helensburgh.
going through Helensburgh. You'll eventually make it to Gairloch Head, and you'll notice all these submarines and things. That's kind of the driving force for why these roads.
I was
why these
hoping you
roads
wouldn't
came out.
notice the submarines. They're generally underwater, but yeah.
You can see some of them on Google if you
And
look
this is the
carefully.
Faslane Naval Base.
This is the Faslane Naval
Yeah.
Base, Gairloch Head, and what's the other one?
His Majesty's Naval Base Clyde,
That's
I think is its formal
right.
name.
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yep.
Mhm.
So we've got lots of names here. So as part of the development of this in the 1980s, there was a big push for road construction.
Now, are we allowed to say why? I think we are, because it's
You can
40 odd
say-
years ago.
you
So
go ahead,
when
yeah.
the UK decided to replace or upgrade its nuclear deterrent from the old Polaris system to Trident,
Trident submarine.
they needed to improve a lot of the infrastructure at Faslane to allow for that.
Yes.
And that meant shipping in a lot of materials. Now, this naval base is in prime position for naval purposes, but from a roads access point of view, it was pretty cut off from the
You
national
were
road
limited.
system.
You were limited to what you had. I mean, you had the 814 And then you had the 82 running up, but there was no connection there. And then even getting across the peninsula was tricky. I've looked at some of the old maps and gone, wouldn't like to be going along there in any rush, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So a couple of thank yous before I jump into the information. So we've got Jim McCafferty, Alan Baker, and Ronnie Hunter from Scott Wilson Kirkpatrick, who kind of did all the engineering design of the roads there. Good friends of ours, Stuart. Meet them every now and again.
Indeed.
And they've sent over some booklets and things, which we are going to be referring to through this talk. That's our From the Archive feature. Also, we shout out again, it's a little thing that's ticking over in the background, the British Newspaper Archive, which we get a yearly subscription to. That helps us out massively because it gives us a lot of dates, a lot of information, shows the development of a lot of roads just before they started moving. So this is the road network built around Coldport and Faslane, part of the rapid expansion of the Trident development at the submarine bases. A massive amount of construction. Roads, again, as we discussed, were a key factor. So Mr. George Younger, gave the go-ahead in March 1985 for the expansion of the base and the construction of the road as part of that. And he asked for an early start on the Gairloch Head bypass to proceed.
And he was, of course, Secretary of State for
Secretary
Scotland.
of State for
in
Scotland,
the Thatcher
that's right.
government in the 80s.
Yep. So they got on with that. And then they also added in the Glenfruin Hall Road, which Mr. Malcolm Rifkind approved in December 1986. And he was also Secretary of State.
Was the successor to Mr. Younger. Yeah.
So pretty rapid going ahead of a lot of road construction. Very controversial at the time. I think the Glenfruin Hall Road, which is the east-west route, that was very controversial. There was a lot of objections to that about chopping up the countryside with a brand new road. It was given the go-ahead on the condition that it would be only for construction traffic and removed when it was all done within 2-3 years after it being built. So that's how it got on. Engineering design of this was by Scott Wilson Kirkpatrick and Partners. Strathclyde didn't have much involvement with this, so they gave it to Scott Wilson.
That was a conscious choice on the part of Strathclyde Regional Council.
It was in the area of Strathclyde at the time.
Strathclyde had declared itself, as many other authorities had, as nuclear-free authorities.
Right. So they couldn't be hypocritical in that regard.
And sort of assist with this project. So they stepped out.
Right,
for that reason, not just from the Hall Road, but from the other two as well.
Yes.
And I believe even objected at one of the public local inquiries that were held into the Gairloch Head bypass aspect of it, which I'm sure you'll cover.
Yes. So I do have some bits and pieces of the booklet which I will be quoting throughout this. I do like a bit of reading off the page. It's just one of the things I do. So I've got a little bit of the environmental considerations here, which we'll go to. So great care was taken over the environmental aspects of all three roads. Their routes were selected to take advantage of the lie of the land and to minimise visual intrusion. Prior discussions about landscaping and planting took place with the Countryside Commission for Scotland. So pretty early on, discussions with the relevant authorities to say, how is this thing going to sit in the landscape? How can we kind of blend it in to make it fit in? So a route overview. So pretty much the entire thing was opened on the 28th of January 1988. So that included the Gairloch bypass, the Glenfruin Hall Road, and the rest of the Northern Access Road, which I opened first, but we'll get to. So I'll run through each of the three sections, going through some of the facts. So the Gairloch Head bypass, which is the A814, as I mentioned before, that's part of the Clydeside Expressway. But if you keep going, if you follow the A814 all the way up the coast, you will eventually go onto the Gairloch Head bypass, which is quite fun. That it starts as this big expressway, and then you end up
keeps the number all the way through,
and then you end up on the side of what loch is that? Barely 2 lanes wide north.
That
of
is
Gairloch.
A great drive, by the way. It
looks terrifying.
It looks a bit terrifying, but it's something very different. It's unusual. I enjoy that.
I think that's Loch Long.
Yes,
the Loch Long section, and eventually meets the 83.
Yeah,
where it comes to a stop. Yeah.
So
a wee bit about the bypass, so a wee bit from the booklet here. So the Gairloch Head bypass runs from Whitsfield to Faslane. It was constructed on behalf of the Secretary of State for Scotland and paid for by the Ministry of Defence. It is part of the public road network. By taking construction, public and Royal Naval Armament Depot Coolport traffic out of Gairloch Head, it answers a long-term need and will be a permanent benefit to the locality. So this was a military road. It was open to the public, so the public could use it to bypass Gairloch Head. And this was built by Miller Construction, which we've heard of a couple of times before. And it features a little climbing lane north from Faslane. Now, the Faslane bypass, which wasn't actually built as part of this works, that appeared around 1969, 1970.
Right.
I don't know much about where this actually came from. Who engineer, designer, not too sure. So appeal for info.
That was probably done for the Polaris work the generation before.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's the first bit. So the second bit is the Northern Access Road. Now, this is the long road that goes from the north of Gairloch Head, like kind of does a big S all the way down to the end of the peninsula there. And from the booklet here, to relieve the Roseneath Peninsula, the Northern Access Road is being built linking the Gairloch Head bypass at Whitsfield with RNAD Coalport. Most of the construction and long-term operational traffic to Coalport will use the road instead of the twisting, narrow B833. Now, that's the road that existed prior to that. Although not a public highway, it will be open to the traffic. So again, owned by the military, but open to the traffic. And this is one of the unclassified roads. It doesn't have a number.
And I think Coalport, that's the armaments depot, isn't it?
That's
so that's the torpedo range. That's
where things are stored.
That's where the weapons get kept and then shipped out. Yeah.
Faslane's the actual sub pen.
Yeah.
That's right. That's how it is.
So this was built again by Miller Construction. And the first section opened on the 25th of September 1987 from Gairloch Head to Peaton Hill. There's a little crossroads just halfway down there. So they built that section and had a nice tape cutting ceremony, which we do have some photographs of.
Oh, great.
And the second section opened in 1988, which actually took it all the way down. And that was official opening by Sir Gordon Manzie, who cut the tape.
Who was he?
I'm not entirely sure. It was in the booklet, actually.
Was he chair of the Property Services Agency or something?
It says here, opened by Sir Gordon Manzie, KCB, Chief Executive of the Property Services Agency.
There we go. That's what I thought.
Well remembered. You totally
it's
didn't read that off the sheet.
It's on here. So that's who he was. Now, the third one, which is probably the best bit out of all of this, is the Glenfruin Hall Road. Now, this is the A817.
Yeah.
Now, this is the cross-country road that goes west to east from the A82 to the A814. So from...
Is this the one with a viewing point on it?
Yes.
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 Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'm just putting myself where it is because I forgot to bring an atlas with me.
We do. There's a nice graphic in the booklet that we will get up. So from the booklet again here, so the temporary Glenfruin Road completes the network by linking the 82 on Loch Lomond side to the new bypass. It is a private road dedicated to the construction traffic travelling to and from Coalport and Faslane, which would otherwise have had to go through Helensburgh, Shanton and Rue. It took less than a year to complete the Glenfruin Road, its 3 bridges, culvert and underpass at a cost of some $5 million. What a bargain. And for landscaping to get well underway. During construction, great care was taken to preserve features along the route. Holly and maple trees were protected and an ancient stone with cup and ring markings saved. Dry stone dikes were built by Scottish craftsmen to help blend the road into the landscape.
Okay.
So again, a real starting to get into that era of environmental considerations. How do we make the road blend in,
even
protect?
Though it wasn't intended to be a public road.
Exactly, yeah. This is
given a lot of the controversy already with these things, they probably wanted to be quite sensitive about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not the first time they've made these sorts of considerations, and I'm glad they did.
Am I right in saying that prior to the Hall Road, there was a single track road that more or less
Still
followed
there.
that route?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it sits just to the south of it, I think.
Right.
So the new road sits further up and sort of follows the
Right.
hillside.
Okay.
You'll know the eastern end of this because it's that bit of dual carriageway on the A82 at Loch Lomond.
Right.
That was built, I think, as part of the upgrade, or was this as part of the Hall Roads? I think?
Part of the 82 upgrade, I think. That was handled by Strathclyde, I think.
That was the Strathclyde bit, yeah. So this section was built by Balfour Beatty. Now it's important to mention this is the private road. So this was intended to be used by military traffic, construction traffic, and nobody else. And we've seen a couple of newspaper grainy pictures of the checkpoints at either end of this, and you had to show a little pass to the operator,
police.
and he would raise the barrier and let you go up the road. Yeah. Again, heavily campaigned against spoiling the Glen, and this was only approved if the road was returned to nature once the base was completed and the need for it had kind of gone. However, it's still there. Strathclyde Regional Council found the road quite useful in bypassing Helensburgh and a quick link across the country.
This is actually a good idea.
Yeah, this is actually quite
for the reason we actually built it.
Yeah. And once its kind of military purpose was finished, $2 million was spent bringing the road up to standards, and it was opened for public use on the 13th of March, 1995, which was 30 years ago in March. So it's a nice little anniversary.
That old. I'm not sure if you're going to get to this. You have to come in with a question here about the whole Strathclyde not really being behind it. Who was ever going to be responsible for maintaining it once it had opened? Were they quite content?
Well, that was the MOD.
So the MOD had to basically run and operate it afterwards.
Gairloch Head bypass was a public road, as Duncan said, so that obviously would have been Strathclyde Regional Council that had been looking after that. But the Northern Access Road and the Hall Road, that would have been overseen by the MOD. And still, the Northern Access Road still is overseen by by the MOD, as far as I'm aware. The Hall Road obviously being adopted by Argyll and Bute Council
and stuff. They have to get a contractor to go and do all that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm going to go to John just with a question on this, because I took John for his first drive on this network of roads.
Right.
And I remember him being astounded at these high quality, well designed roads just that come out of nowhere.
And they're empty.
And they're empty. Now, do you remember that day and remind me of what your impressions were when we drove on it?
Majestic in terms of the scenery and stuff that you're able to see up there. And I do remember it feeling strange in the fact that it was so quiet, and it had barriers and all these other things. I remember at one stage it actually has an arrestor bed as well. One thing, which is one of these escape lanes for lorries, which I love. And then there's that viewing point, strange but in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things I didn't even know was there.
Yeah.
I don't really go to that part of the world too often.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously there's a Scott Wilson-Kirkpatrick connection as well, which for
that's
us...
how we kind of know about it.
Because of the highway plan and
the
inner ring road.
And just another one of the very interesting projects that they were involved in as a company in Scotland. So
I'm sure many other travellers got to this point of the world and go, look at these roads, it's fantastic, these views, what a great driving road, and probably don't know why. And it does have such an interesting story.
Yeah. Have you driven them yet?
I have driven the Hall Road. I remember going along the Hall Road because I kind of knew about it. And I think I took my auntie up there because she was wanting to come for a drive.
Yeah.
And we went up and it was a beautiful sunny day. It was really quiet.
That's when you want to go
and it's a proper rock and roll road. It's not a sort of sweeping bend, nice gradients. It's a proper climbing up and down. And then you've got the views looking across the loch. It is a stunning bit of road.
Do you remember the day we drove it? We were driving slowly because we were having a look at some features.
Always do.
And within, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, we were being tailed by military police.
That's right, yeah. It might have had something to do with the fact that we were going around taking pictures, but
Didn't take long
for them to come out and be like, who are these guys? What are they
highly
doing?
secure area for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a no drone zone, so don't you be going down there.
No drones. I've seen the signs and gone,
yeah.
Well, it's all publicity, What I do remember, it's probably you might get to this, so I'm totally torpedoing your segment.
Pardon the pun there. Torpedoing.
Unintentional puns are the best puns, guys. I believe this is down next to the base. They had some, like when we were there was this peace camp was down there. But
Faslane, the peace camp.
Yeah. I drove past this maybe about a year ago. That seems to be far more diminished, And
it seems like it goes through periods of being busy when there's activity and stuff.
But it was interesting that there was still this constant presence of like opposition in that area. But that's probably not so much to do with the roads, but the base in general.
As the home base of the UK's nuclear deterrent,
you're always going to attract that, So
it's going to split opinion one way or the other, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Duncan, we're digressing.
Just a couple more points here. The road network, I think some people might know this, it is closed on the 1st of January every year to prevent the road becoming a public highway. Now, that kind of contradicts the handing over to Strathclyde region, or is it still military involvement in some way?
Could that possibly refer to the Northern Access Road?
Possibly.
Because in Scotland, if something is open to the public and gets continuously used by the public, it will automatically become a right of way.
Right.
So I wonder if that maybe more refers to the military sections, those roads, rather than the Hall Road, which is, as you say, has been adopted now in full by Argyll and Bute Council.
Yes.
No, my understanding is it's open all the year round now, but maybe the Northern Access Road isn't.
Oh, interesting. I saw that one. Well,
someone will know, by the way.
May as well mention
that.
Send
us in let us know.
Yep.
Send in.
Send us a message.
Yeah, exactly.
Another wee point here, one for John, because I know you might like this, is the roundabouts on the bypass and the access road. They are hamburger roundabouts. Did you notice this?
No, I didn't. Actually, I didn't think
not the modern hamburger roundabout that we have.
Hamburgers
just
in Scotland.
Gates on them, so
they have a little paved straight section through them
for
with
abnormal loads.
For abnormal loads, large vehicles that can't go around roundabouts, they can just cut straight through.
I've not heard of that as being referred to as hamburgering, in fairness, but I see this now on some roundabouts where they have like a crescent on the central island to allow for movements of abnormal loads.
Well, these ones that have yellow gates on them, and it allows the convoys to go straight through.
Right.
I guess it's to save unnecessary turning manoeuvres. And let's be honest, they're going to want those convoys through the gates of the base pretty quickly.
So they're not messing around. No.
So I can understand why that's maybe the case. Yeah.
And final discussion point from me. This is an example of a military road built for military purposes. Is there any other examples like this across the UK? The only one I can think of is General Wade back in the 1700s, building the military road network.
For military purposes. I don't know. I mean, there'll be people out there that are military experts and
who will know, but I cannot think of a network as this kind of size apart from the
I've got
historical
nothing to
military
contribute
roads.
here other than I should be able to tell you, but I can't because I come from Murray where they had RAF Kinloss and Lossiemouth.
Yeah.
Possibly, and I'm going to go home and check. Maybe they built some infrastructure for something like this. There must be something down south as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Interesting. Well, that's the end of the notes. All I'm going to say is go and drive it. It's a fantastic bit of road, including the Hull Road. Brilliant. Recommended.
I would second that. And as Stuart says, no drones or
no drones. Just get to the other end and then go home. Don't mess around.
I'm sure it's a good day as well.
We'll need to go back, and get another look. So you're from the archive feature then.
That's the booklet I've been referring to. This. Yeah. We could hold this up to the camera, but that's the Gairlochhead Bypass Northern Access Road and Glenfruin Road booklet, which we are going to get scanned and we're going to get it up on the website in some sort of capacity.
Yep.
We're thinking of plans for that. Inside, pretty much, it's a classic Scott Wilson booklet. It's all laid out in individual sections, and it's got a nice big map, and it shows you all the bits, and it's all labelled, so it's nice and straightforward and easy to understand. Because when I started looking at this, I went, how am I going to understand this? And I went, oh yes, it's Scott Wilson. They're quite good at explaining stuff. And here it is all laid out in this booklet. So there's some nice construction photos, which we have a couple of the construction photos as well, I think from Scott Wilson. I think they've given us some
in the
construction
digital
photos.
collection.
Yeah, so it goes into the background of the scheme, Gairlochhead, Northern Access Road, and the Glenfruin Road.
And some interesting structures on that Hull Road in particular. Auchengaich Burn Bridge on Glenfruin Road is one of the interesting ones. Interesting,
and there's a couple of big bridges over the railway as well on the Gairlochhead section.
Definitely worth another visit. We'll get some photos. Easy to photograph that one, give it a public road now.
When did we get that? Sorry if you mentioned that, because that is something I don't think I've had a chance to flip through.
We got this about 2 weeks ago from Ronnie Hunter, from Scott Wilson.
Wow,
who knew
this
we were doing
fresh.
this. I've got
Very
this.
fresh.
Yes, he sent that over.
Very
Thank you, Ronnie Hunter.
In fact, this particular one here, Duncan,
I hadn't seen that one.
This one here, which is the Northern Access Road. It actually says the Royal Naval Armaments Depot Coalport Phase 1 opening. So that is one that we had
these things
seen
existed.
before.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, so this was completely new. Is there anything in that one you want to talk us through?
No, it is very much on its own. It talks a lot about the rock excavation. There was quite a lot. There was a lot of excavation, a lot of fill. Maximum gradients of 8%. Which is quite interesting. I mean, nowadays for roads it's 4%.
Yeah,
but they were really pushing it for 8%. Yeah, there's a lot of big cuttings as well. But I will leave this for the listeners to have a look at themselves.
And of course,
tease them.
And as always, the From the Archive documents can be viewed at the website scottishrroadsarchive.org/roadscast. And it'll be the two files at the bottom of the list.
Yep.
Well, that was very interesting.
It was.
I hope so. I hope it was interesting.
A lot of people will be aware of these roads because people go out that way and they'll wonder why the quality of them is so different compared to
when I saw it's the military road, I went, I've got to drive this.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. I need to go up and have another go.
You'd be surprised. I think a lot of people maybe don't know too much about this stuff. You know? It'd be interesting. Thought quite a different subject, that one, but I enjoyed it.
Right, well, thank you. If you're finished on that, we will move on, I think, then to our first round of listener questions.
Oh no.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready.
To my left here,
right. Okay,
and bring up my pre-prepared
getting myself in position
for some of the questions.
Right.
Now, between the two of you, I'm hoping we're going to be able to answer.
I'm sure we'll be.
So do I.
Many of them.
Only Stuart has the questions, by the way. So
I like to sort of keep you.
It's like the quiz all over again. Remember?
Oh, great! Oh, yeah. I mean, I whooped your ass in that, so it's okay.
You did by 2 points. Yes,
that's right. Well, that's a year ago.
That's a year ago.
Since that, can you remember what section of the A96 dueling opened in September 1998?
Do you know what? Duncan's great to answer that part.
John, I don't want to stake in your thunder. It's your thing.
My goodness.
Anyway, what have we got here?
One of these days we will get him there.
One of these
days. Will be a proper.
Has he actually ever been along the A96, or is he lying to us all this time?
I regret to say that I have.
So have I.
It's most
so have I.
Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're testing his knowledge on things. I mean, we could test your knowledge.
Go ahead. Can
you tell me when the second bore of the Clyde Tunnel was open to traffic?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Now the first bit was 63? And it was the Queen opened it.
Yeah.
And the second bit, I think, was a year later in 64.
It was, but can you remember when in 64?
That's really
No, see,
cruel.
No,
both as bad as one another, folks.
Is it June or July?
No, it was July 63 for the first. It was March 64 for the second one. So, folks, they're both as bad as one another. They both tell us
they're nothing without their notes.
Nothing without their notes and their booklets in front of them. So you saw it here.
Do you know, I will say, when we were at Glasgow, we were just Glasgow.
Yeah.
We remember these things, but now that we're all Scotland, we have so many dates we need to remember. You know, so it's actually us forgetting things is a sign of the fact that we've expanded so much.
Yeah.
I should work politics. I really should. That, I think, is a really good parachute I gave myself there.
You did. You deflected that nicely. But we'll come back to you later with something else. Don't worry. Right. Okay. These listener questions. I'm just going to pick a selection at random, and then we'll come back and we'll do some more.
See what time we have.
Yeah. We'll see how we're going, because there are so many, and I just want to pick out some of the more interesting ones if I can. And there are some that are frankly ridiculous as well, as they always are. But
we love the ridiculous ones.
That's fine. Yeah, we love you for your ridiculous questions. Okay, Misty Bum on Facebook. Yep, Misty Bum. That's it's great on social media. People just hide behind these handles. Misty Bum. Thank you for your question, Misty Bum. When the Killiecrankie stretch of the A9 was built, was it the most expensive section of road per mile in the UK? Duncan, this is definitely one for you.
When it was yes, it was. I know. One of the delays of that Killiecrankie section was trying to convince the Treasury that even for 2.5 kilometres of road, yes, it is going to cost about £15 million to build. And they were like, but it's only 2.5 kilometres. And then they said, yeah, but it's all going to be on stilts and it's all viaducts and rock cuttings. I went, oh, right, okay.
It's a bit like the Limehouse link of its time.
Yes, just a few years before that. Yeah.
I think actually the Limehouse link is currently the record holder for that.
In the UK,
in the UK, yeah. But I think Killiecrankie was probably up there.
Remember, we're not all gurus. Please remind people where the Limehouse link is.
It's in London.
It's the London Tunnel thing. Yeah,
it was that cut and cover. It wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a good drive. You and I have driven it.
Yeah. Killiecrankie is cooler. Because it's up here.
It's in the stunning scenery of.
That's 40 in August. 40 in August. We have a nice picture in the calendar.
Yeah, we'll mention that.
So yes, basically
for next year. So yes,
probably was.
That was a nice easy one then, right? Okay. Here's one from Becky Taylor on Facebook.
Right.
And she would like to ask Stuart, John and Duncan. Hello, Becky. You can see us here for the change. What are your favourite or most exciting or most unusual roads in Scotland? Now, John, I'll let you think about that a second. Duncan, I suspect you may have a pre-prepared answer for some of these, because you tend to think about these things most of them. What's your favourite road?
Favourite road? I mean, I've got to look at that A817, the Hall Road.
Right.
And that was great, because it still sticks in my mind as that was a good drive.
I thought you would have said A9, given that's your main focus.
A9.
I think he's got A9 fatigue, Stuart.
Yeah,
he spoke about
A9
it
is
too
good.
much.
Yeah,
A9 is good, but when the A9's slow, it can be...
a bit of a
but
drive.
M90, I'm a big M90 fan. I'll wave my M95 with pride.
That's
I like
fair.
the M90.
Most exciting.
I mean, the road up to Liverpool is quite interesting and quite exciting, because it's a trunk road, but it's still in that era of rock and roll roads, up and down and sharp corners and things.
Most unusual. Because these are all slightly different things. I mean, the most exciting and the most unusual. I mean, I mean, in the Highlands, you have a lot of unusual roads.
Lots of unusual roads.
Yeah.
Can I hit it with not a specific road, but I always find these relics unusual, right?
Relics.
So, what's that road that goes down from Bowtrees, and it's these old
the Skinflats
the
road.
905.
So it's like when you get these ancient roads, often local authority, they're like dual carriageways, and they just are time capsules of what driving was probably like in the 60s and 70s. And I always find that really unusual in many cases.
Yeah.
So that's a broad answer I have to that part of it.
Right. Well, that answers your unusual bit. You got an unusual one? Don't let Becky down. Becky's gone to the trouble to put this question in.
And I helped you there, Duncan, by taking over for me.
Unusual.
Oh, we'll come back to him in a minute.
Come back to what's unusual.
What's your most exciting section,
John? Do you know, is not anything on the North Coast 500 roads, fantastic. Clydeside Expressway to me, and I'll tell you why. To me, when it's these roads nestled within an urban area, a bit like the M8, but the Clydeside Expressway with all the lighting you got now, it's made even better by the fact we've got like the hydro. and all the stuff that's come up along the waterfront there, and then you go through that it was done in sort of 2008 up by Partick, with the lighting and everything there. There is a sense of sort of anticipation, and the road kind of going through. I think that road is exciting. You're always going to be doing something cool if you're on that road.
Yeah, agreed. Would you call that your favourite and the most exciting then?
Yeah. And do you know, Stuart, as well, it's the road that got me sitting here.
Yeah, interested in what.
So
what
I'm not going to let the old girl down by saying something else is more exciting.
Fair enough. And the booklet for that road that we produce sells very well.
Yes.
Which surprised some of us, I think.
And so it should.
Seems to be liked by some, although it has a terrible congestion issue at the eastern end at night.
I know. I just hope it doesn't get ruined. Yeah. There are maybe plans with that road that they might put bus lanes or do something to it, but that's the way some things will be. But I'd really like it.
Okay.
So.
I do have an answer for the most unusual bit of road.
Okay.
It is on the A92. It is on the east coast. It is that tiny bit of dual carriageway at Gordon Hill.
Oh, south of Stonehaven.
South of Stonehaven.
Yeah. Okay.
It is about, if you're driving at 70 over it, you can do it in about 8 seconds.
Wow.
It is stunning. It is a fantastic. It's so odd that the A92 kind of wiggles along, and then suddenly you go over this crest and you've got a bit of duelling, and then that's it. It's mad. Absolutely mad. That's my favourite.
Becky, I knew you would find something unusual eventually.
That isn't unusual. I want to go and see that now.
Yeah. Okay. So that leaves me then. My favourite section of road, M74 south of Elvenfoot, between Elvenfoot and Beatuck. For me, you've got the West Coast Main Line, you've got the motorway, and you've got the old A road into the same corridor. I find that pretty stunning. And Patrick, who does our design for all our wonderful archive things, he's a huge fan of that. And we've squeezed an image into the calendar for 2026 as well. For that
on
section.
the Earth Wall.
That would be my favourite section. But my most exciting section would probably be the Urban M8. Through Glasgow.
Yes. Okay.
It has to be. Exciting is a good word.
Very exciting.
These vistas of the city as you go through.
So
wonderful.
That will always be the most exciting for me. You can see so much from it, like you say, that was deliberate. Let's show off the city. Let's show off the scenery in the distance as well, coming through there. Kingston Bridge, all these things, fantastic.
Yeah.
So unusual, so exciting, and so unique in the UK sort of a setting as well.
I'll second you there. It is pretty cool.
Yeah, you've got your Leeds and your Newcastles with the bits of ring road in the centre that are to motorway standards.
But they're not continuous.
Not continuous, and they're not exciting.
No.
They're not exciting. And then, as an extension of that, then onto the sort of most unusual road, for me, that would have to be the section round about Plantation in the M8, where you've got the split carriageways, the braided carriageways.
Oh, yes.
Because do we have any other major sections of braided parallel carriageway in Britain, John? You'll know better than I.
Well, Worsley interchange. So you get this around, which is the M60, M61. The M60 has some at Bredbury. There's a junction, there's the Bredbury Scissors, and that has kind of parallel carriageways, and also the M25 around about Heathrow added these things in.
There,
so a little bit unusual because that one came quite early on, some of this braiding stuff, because we have it now actually on the M8 between Junction 8 Baillieston and Junction 6 Newhouse, built the road in parallel, the A8 alongside it.
Yeah, that is a good point, I guess. Roads of different status or whatever, but still the same sort of
the
concept.
Local and the long distance traffic
separate. Yeah, no, so Plantation section of the M8, definitely the most unusual one for me. Very, very chuffed with that. Becky, thank you for that question.
That was cool.
That was a great question.
Enjoyed that.
Really, really liked that one. Okay, I think we've got time for maybe one or two more maybe at the minute before we come back later on. I'm going to ask this one to John first because it's such an obvious answer. Craig Sutherland on Facebook asks us, is there a case for adding a third lane to the E720 Edinburgh City bypass?
No, there's a case for adding maybe two other lanes to it other than just one. I would say, it is very much showing that it is beyond its capacity.
Way beyond capacity.
And something needs to be done. You either need to do, if you're not going to add another lane, is very much control the amount of traffic that's going on that in some way. That might be closing junctions, restricting it, ramp metering. Something needs to be done because the road is becoming to a point where it is impassable, even in the inter-peak periods. The road is busy in the morning and other stuff. The city bypass is one of these ones that's busy all day. Journey time reliability. And the worst thing, I know people say, we shouldn't build more roads and, it's going to encourage people to drive. Well, if you want to constrain the growth of the area in the east of the country, then
don't do anything.
Well, if you don't want things to grow, if you don't want people to live there, you don't want people to get around, sure, leave it. But yes, if you want things to be better, you're going to add capacity.
You're going to have to do that. Now, I guess you would concur with that.
I would concur
answer.
with that.
Yeah.
I've sat on that bloody bypass for far too long.
Okay.
It's
So
doing my head in.
Craig then submitted sort of a supplementary question
Right,
to this. And Craig asks, is there a case for providing a grade-separated junction at Hermiston Gate, Sheriff Hall and Old Craig Hall on the bypass?
Yeah, so well, Hermiston is grade separated from the point of the bypass, but most people are turning and going off there.
Yeah.
I would probably leave Hermiston in the way that it is.
I guess Hermiston would probably benefit from free flow links with the M8. Yeah, very difficult to achieve given what's built there.
What I've actually thought is building a new road entirely, a Hermiston bypass that would go off from the M8, and it would join in beyond the Waterleith and Babberton and these areas, and that because the Babberton, Waterleith are the bits that are very difficult to widen. You know? As for Sheriff Hall grade separation, yes, needs to happen. Sheriff Hall, it's infamous. It comes up every podcast. But what this will also do, and some critics have said this, and they have a point, this will shift the problem about.
Yes.
You have the problem at Dreghorn, or you're going to move the problem to Old Craig Hall. So you need to have a consistent upgrade strategy. Old Craig Hall is actually a reasonably easy thing to do. They can fix that.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to build a bridge.
Yeah.
You could just have it so it has a loop. You know where the services are at the back? Remove that and have a loop that then links round to the A1 and a free flow. So it's like a trumpet interchange. You could do that at Old Craig Hall.
I found something. We got some booklets of that section. I think it was the regional section of the A1 of the bypass. And the very early proposals show not a roundabout but a trumpet at Old Craig Hall. And then for some reason they went, no, we'll have a roundabout here. Probably for the services to the north.
The roundabout's versatile.
Yeah.
I get it, but
you're going from a bypass to the A1. I mean,
you can easily put the left turning lane in.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, right?
But no, I'm fully in support of the Sheriff Hall upgrade. I think that needs to happen, but it's not going to solve all the problems of the bypass.
Some tinkering maybe at Hermiston and Old Craig Hall would just improve the efficiency of the junctions, possibly.
Yes, just don't fix just one thing on the bypass. You need to fix the other things that are next to it because you just move the problem about.
Yeah.
Bring back the route strategy studies.
Yes.
For the bypass.
They were good.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of them.
Okay.
Good question. Thank you for that one. I got to stand on my soapbox there.
One more question here from Edie Mars on Facebook. Why so little funding on the South West Scotland Road Network? I'm simply going to answer that with a factual response in that the South West Scotland Road Network is actually the most funded section of Scotland. So when you think of the 4 operating companies that we have in Scotland.
So this is about maintenance rather than capital investments.
This is about maintenance. It could well refer to capital investment on the A75, the A77, but I presume we're going to presume it's to do with maintenance. So if you think of the 4 operating companies that we have in Scotland, then we have North West, North East, South West, South East. The South West is the one that tends to eat up the largest budget. North West, not far behind usually.
Well, Southwest includes Glasgow.
The Glasgow urban motorways
and the M74 and all these heavily used roads.
Well, we all work in these sectors, right?
Yeah.
So we know that comes down to the sheer number of structures.
Yeah.
You know, in many cases. Yeah.
I think we'll squeeze in one more.
Go for it.
I think we will.
Duncan,
this is a perfect question for you from Alan Simpson on Facebook.
Good.
Alan asks, which location in Scotland do you think most needs a bypass? And what would you build? Single carriageway with overtaking lanes, or dual carriageway? Bit on the spot there, but just...
Bit on the spot. Thoughts. I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is Fort William. I know that was being moved very slowly in the 80s, but I think there was a bit of political pushing that basically kicked that to the dirt. I think it's time that we actually look at that again. I mean, we've still got enough land, we've still got enough space to actually squeeze something beyond... coming off the dual carriageway round the top of Fort William, because that industrial section of the 82, we've got all those junctions and all that traffic going up and down. It's a nightmare. Yeah. It's an absolute nightmare.
From yourself, anything that immediately comes to mind?
Yeah, I was just sitting there thinking about Dundee was on the cards, and Dundee is only getting busier and busier and busier. And I know there's this high quality dual carriageway in some sections through the A90, but for the problem at Dundee is they've added a lot more developments that have come in, and traffic lights have gone in at certain areas and roundabouts and stuff like that, which have contributed to more and more traffic going onto there. So Dundee can be pretty slow. The other one I would say, because I'm from the area, Elgin needs about Nairn is particularly bad.
A96,
Nairn, you live up that way. between Nairn and Inverness, the whole A96 is inadequate.
I don't need to ask you guys, but I presume both of you would say just build dual carriageway for all of these, because I know what you're both like.
I think so.
Fort William could survive as a single carriageway.
Right, okay.
But then it runs the risk of, we'll just pop a roundabout in and then sprawl all these...
Sprawl is the issue. Yeah. No, Elgin, I would say dual carriageway.
I'm going to throw in a few other ones, because there are others that have long been on the books, but often are forgotten about. Girvan on the A77.
A77
Oh,
one.
yes, please.
Yeah. Girvan's
yes, please. Make my job easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girvan's a great example of
Dune.
one. Dune on the A84.
We've got a booklet of that.
Yeah.
That was planned. Rosyth.
Rosyth. There's another question of that, so don't say too much about that. We'll probably come back to that later. And where else? I'm trying to think, where else in the south of Scotland that would be some of the borders towns?
Springholm and Crocketford, but actually
they're moving at last.
Yeah.
They're doing that now.
There are options for single carriageway, overtaking lanes, or dual carriageway options for the bypass there.
Jedburgh
bypass.
Jedburgh had a plan
borders,
for a
down the
bypass.
borders,
Originally, it's not gonna. Is there any places that like really need it, but they've never actually even come up with a plan for it? That's a question.
I mean, Greenock, but that would be pretty tricky.
No, but the problem with Greenock is it's sort of the end of the road anyway.
It then feeds on to the 78, which kind of trundles down.
Yeah, people are starting and ending Greenock journeys in the Greenock Port Glasgow.
What about Dumbarton?
That old dual carriageway is creaking a little bit, as we like to say at our talks. And I think something would be useful there. Because I drive along that dual carriageway and it's national speed limit, and I am a bit nervous about it. I am very excited when I get onto Alexandra and it's a bit more modern, but squeezing through that bit, I think we could have a look at that. Because it's a lot of traffic coming down there towards Glasgow and up and down and over the Erskine Bridge. So.
I'm stumped as how that would be done in an engineering sense, because it is a tight squeeze.
Tunnels, we like.
You could do, but we're not Scandinavian.
No,
so we don't have the expertise or the money for that.
We'll just get them over to do it.
You could do. True.
Okay, I did say some of these questions were quite ridiculous, so I'm going to finish with that one for the moment. Frank Evans on Facebook. It's always Facebook.
Is this a ridiculous question?
Yeah. When will you fuel the A96 Aberdeen to Inverness Road? So, well, we're not going to fuel it at all. I guess what you meant when you're going to dual it. And I think Frank may be getting a bit confused as to what we actually do as an organisation. We don't build new roads. We don't dual new roads.
We look at the history
of how
it's come
Frank,
to be.
See if we did, it'd be done,
Okay, be sure to tell our good friends at Transport Scotland that. John says. I'm sorry, Frank, but that's very much a question for Transport Scotland.
Yes.
It is.
We're a document archive.
Yes. I know Inverness to Nairn, and including the Nairn bypass, that's moved forward a little bit. I know they've gone through with the compulsory purchase.
That's the bit I reckon that'll happen first.
It's all ready to go, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Right. Good. Some good questions there. Plenty more. We'll come back to these in a bit. I think then, John, it's time to come to you.
Time for a break.
Time for a break. You wish it was time for a break. No breaks here. No breaks here. Right. You live in West Lothian, you've told people that before.
Yes.
And there is a quirky section of road in West Lothian that lots of people ask us questions about, because it's one of these roads that's very obviously meant to be something more than it is.
Very important.
Exactly, and it does. So the A801, you're going to give us a bit of an overview. Now, it's also one of those roads where we've spoken about this, it's not really big enough or important enough to warrant its own podcast, its own dedicated podcast. So that's why we decided to squeeze it in into the Christmas episode. It just kind of made sense, because it only needs a few minutes.
We like fun features.
Exactly. So John, take it away. A801.
A801. Yeah, absolutely. Well introduced there. The A801, just to put everybody of where we're talking about, so not everyone's from that part of the world. It links the M8 from Junction 4 at Whitburn to the M9 at Junction 4 Lothallen, going via somewhere called the Avon Gorge. Okay. Ooh. Now, while it's not a trunk road, it does provide an important link between, the industrial areas up at Grangemouth, the population centres around Falkirk, and then down to West Lothian. So you got like Armadale, Bathgate stuff. This basically is a shortcut between the two two major motorways that are the M8 and the M9. It's 9 miles long from the M9 at Junction 4 Lothallen to just south of the M8 at Junction 4 Whitburn, because it actually goes south.
Keeps
of
going,
the motorway,
doesn't it?
Just a tad, where it meets the A705 at a sort of signalised junction, sort of between Blackburn and Whitburn. Now, this road is of particular interest because there isn't have a comprehensive amount of knowledge about it. So it's a bit of a mystery
sort
for
of
us.
fact finding almost.
Yeah, and it's meant in some cases doesn't get the recognition it deserves. We talk about trunk roads a lot as well, and this is actually a local authority road. It's split between two local authorities that look after it. It's also a kind of simmering issue between road users, communities, and local authorities who have had various plans over the years to upgrade the missing middle part of the route. Because it's got these different sort of characteristics.
Approaches.
Yeah, it does. It contains many features and artifacts, using that word deliberately, along the way that suggest it was part of something bigger, which is what he said. So this is the story of the A801. Okay, so I'm going to be working from north to south.
North to south.
So if we think that way.
M9 to M8.
Cool, exactly. I don't know if you've seen my notes, but if I get anything wrong here, guys, cut in and say...
I should also jump in and say thanks to Graham Yule, who sent over some bits and bobs of the A801 and actually filled in a lot of the dates and things, who's been very helpful for the rest of the year, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Graham, and thank you, Duncan, because you've put some of that information together, allowed me to do this as well. So thanks to Duncan Macknight.
That's all right.
I don't often get to say
no bother.
That. There you go. Anyway, from north to south, the scheme's basically called a Lothian to Bowhouse roundabout. Okay, and this is one of the older sections. This was designed by Stirling County Council, and the contractor, which we've got here sort of vague as it was a direct labour organisation that done this,
right.
And it actually opened in 1971. Now, we found out about this from the M9 booklet.
The Falkirk Bypass
The Falkirk Bypass
got it,
mentions this in there. So this is, I suppose, one of the oldest modern sections of the route.
Yeah.
With the 801, and it was, like I said, built shortly after the opening of the M9 Pullman Falkirk Bypass. So we have a newspaper article, which mentioned Graham's fished these things out for us, that states that the £300,000 project was to start in autumn of 1969, and it was to be funded using that typical model we've spoken about, Stuart, where it's like 3/4 of it was Scottish Development Department.
Grant assistance,
by Stirling County Council. We just don't have an exact opening date. So I've got it down here as 1971 ?
Probably.
Someone will know.
Someone will know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was an official opening. It was just, there it is. On you go. It was just one of these ones. And the papers kind of missed
maybe stole the thunder for this one a little bit. But that's this northern section, like I said, goes from Lothian, that large roundabout, the
huge roundabout,
to Bowhouse roundabout.
Yeah. So it's single carriageway and it's a dead straight line, basically.
That's what I say here. It's pretty high quality. One lane in each direction. Running quite straight, climbing slightly as it goes. So there's a bit of a gradient on it, and it has several structures where it crosses the Union Canal and the Falkirk High Railway line. I believe that's the one there that goes, and there is one overbridge on it. So the Union Canal was originally severed and put into a culvert. I didn't know this, so I started looking at it. We had a chat about this.
Well, back then the canal was kind of dead at that time, so they were quite happy to just kind of pipe over it. The same happened, I think, with Denny Bypass. They just kind of piped over it and said, no one's going to use this ever again.
Well, there was several sections of that canal that were severed because of that, and that was why the Millennium Link project sort of reinstated them all.
That's it. So Baptiste were brought in to do this, and what they done is they sort of took it out of the culvert and made a new structure and lifted it up a bit. Lifted it out, and that was done by Morrison's, and it was completed in year 2000.
Yeah, part of the Millennium Link.
And you can see this where you go over and they've got like, I think, a services pipe. It's like this huge pipe that's next to it.
I always wondered, what is that? As it goes past.
Now we know. Yes, furnished with this extra knowledge. So there's no intermediate junctions on this section. It's basically a fast link.
It's fast moving.
Very fast in the middle. The only thing, you think, well, it's great for overtaking and bombing along. It can be quite busy. So, yeah. Right, well, this is the juicy section now. Everyone wants to talk about. This is the Avon Gorge section. So this is Bowhouse to Westfields. So this is the original A801.
The OG,
yeah, where the previous scheme sort of tied into, and is visibly sort of not to a modern standard of the sort of roads we typically talk about that were built in the 70s. Now, we don't have really any information on how old this section is, but it's likely to date back to originally like 1800s alignment.
Pre that, probably,
Pre that, potentially, with only minor changes and improvements since then, such as adapting it to being suitable for motor vehicles. So in the 20s, when they came up with the road numbering system and cars were on the road, that's when things started.
They probably did a bit of widening, a wee bit of straightening, rebuilding the carriageway, but nothing extensive.
No, it was essentially on the same alignment. Now, this section is narrower than the 801 at either side, and it descends down a steep gradient to the Avon Gorge. So it's where it crosses the Avon. And this is where you are met with a narrow masonry arch bridge.
Still in use all these years later when it was put up.
The Torfichan Bridge, as it's known. The local authority boundary, and there's also a slew of warning signs that you're met with as it goes through.
Very dramatic.
It is. With the
and it's just a hard left.
Well, yeah, so it climbs up again, and there's a fork junction that forms part of a sort of triangular road arrangement where it meets the A706. It's the A706 is a very windy road into Linlithgow, very slow. But that's it there, so you can sort of go left there. This section in the junction had a history of accidents. You know, it doesn't have a great safety record. And actually, this year, 2025, when we're recording this, traffic signals have been installed at the junction in all directions. Because it used to be, it's quite a hill. You came up to it and it was unsignalised and you had to look left and right. You're turning off to stay on the A801. That was always
You've got to
the
give
problem.
way to the... It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. You burn your clutch out doing that.
And it's unlit as well. So if you're going through there at night and either side's bends coming from Linlithgow and stuff, you need to be very, very careful. I've seen the rest of this section. So once you navigate that junction, south of here, the road is to a better standard with a few sort of chicanes and bends, passing some farmland before you arrive at the Westfield roundabout. So all of that is known as the Avon Gorge section.
Yeah,
and
the old Avon Gorge section.
Old Avon Gorge section. It was always intended that the A801 would be rerouted to the west of here on a new alignment to bypass the gorge. However, the cost of constructing what would be, a large multi-span viaduct to cross the gorge was meant this section was left to last. And I will talk about the section south that came in the 80s, and so there's this bit in the middle. Now there is evidence of some advanced works in the form of an embankment and tree clearance north of Westfield roundabout, which even includes a culvert that they put in.
You can see it on the OS maps. You can see this sort of cutting going into the Avon Gorge and then just kind of stopping dead.
Now, we went there. We had a little look there.
We did.
So some advanced works that probably happened in the southern sections. When they were doing that. Likely, I say that constructed likely in the early 80s when the southern sections were open. The current status of this. Okay, it's a lot of Googling had to happen here. Professionally, we're not involved in anything like this, so we don't know. It's not a trunk road, The current status of bridging the gorge had its planning approval granted all the way back in 2009. So they wanted to do this for decades.
Been a while, yeah.
And a new road would be to a modern standard, provide overtaking opportunities, and include a large viaduct. Okay. The latest cost estimates range from about 70 to 100 million. Since the kind of cost of materials has gone up, that could be more. Falkirk Council have primarily pushed for the scheme, offering to contribute 12 million in funding towards it, while seeking additional funding from West Lothian Council and Transport Scotland, with the latter, Transport Scotland, offering 35 million, which is unusual because it's not a trunk road. And
but it contributes to
to a trunk road. So Transport will have a vested interest in it somewhere that they're like, okay, yeah, this they've got a point here, because it's these two local authorities that are sort of wanting this in some regard.
Duncan and I had a very interesting chat with a person from Falkirk Council at the Roads Expo who remained very hopeful that this project will happen. So
even in light of changes to the industry in the area.
Yeah,
that is the thing. Like things are always changing, so there'll be this sudden demand for a road, and then it takes so long to get that sorted. The thing is, actually, I'm going to throw it at West Lothian here, though. West Lothian Council do not have a capital budget to make that contribution. So while Falkirk have said Transport Scotland have said West Lothian are like, well, it's not really for us. They were never that keen, and thus the problem comes down to really
funding,
available funding. As they always say, it comes down to cash.
Yeah. So always the money.
Yeah. I know historically, I don't know if you're going to come on to this, but it was Lothian, Stirling, and Falkirk councils were all kind of banded together and getting ready. And then I think Falkirk, or was it Falkirk? Was it Lothian or Falkirk pulled out in the 90s and they couldn't do it, and so it's just been sitting. Now I've got a map that actually shows a dashed line saying under construction. It's going to happen soon.
It'll be the same thing. That mid-70s change, right? So the regionalisation, the end of the old counties, the way that the grant assistance was available, the oil crisis, all the economic situation through the 70s. it put a lot of these plans
These
just
lot
on
of
the
things
back
fell
burner,
through the cracks.
and had it been just a few years earlier, it probably would have gone ahead. And it's just been a sort of
the latest tactic, because Falkirk are the ones who are pushing this, is to look at levelling up funding. A lot of councils have done this, up to a certain amount.
Growth deals with the UK, Scottish governments combined.
Up to 50 million they can get to contribute, and that would likely have an impact on other, financial contributions by the other stakeholders. Now, a business case has not been approved for the scheme, despite some design work already being completed. I believe WSP have done the latest branch, it's kind of package of design work. I've never seen what's planned or what that viaduct or anything would look like. But until such time comes funding available, the upgrade of the A801 over the Avon Gorge looks like it's unlikely to progress in the near future. Eventually, maybe when we're grey and old, who knows? I don't have any other further information, but if people know about that section...
If anyone from WSP is listening, we would love to see any plans and proposals, any reports and things.
I would imagine that our good friends at WSP would refer you to Falkirk Council for such confidential information, Duncan.
I know.
I'll give them an email.
So don't get too angry at us.
We've spoken all about that. Let's talk about the other parts which have been brought up to a modern standard. So this is... the
really cool southern approaches.
Yeah, so Westfield's roundabout to Boghead roundabout. Okay, so this was designed by Lothian Regional Council. Tarmac Construction were the contractor for this one.
Nice.
And this opened on the 19th of October 1983.
Nice.
Well, that's recent then.
Not
Well, I say
super
recent.
old.
40 plus years ago now.
No, I've seen it on the map. So this section of road is a high quality alignment with good overtaking opportunities throughout. So I'm just going to bring you south and talk you through it. South of Westfield roundabout, the A801 gently curves for just under 1 mile before it becomes a dual carriageway, only half a mile. And within this dual section, it's got a staggered junction.
Yeah.
A800 and B8028, and it has some gaps in the central reservation. So it does feel a bit old when you go along, but it does the job. From here, the dual carriageway ends, and a 2+1 climbing lane is immediately provided for southbound traffic as the road ascends on a slight gradient before then again seamlessly converting into a dual carriageway for the approach of Heatherfield roundabout, where the A89 can be accessed to get to.
That's a big no-no in the book nowadays.
Yeah,
that's a big no-no. I don't know why this is not allowed, having dual carriageways going into climbings. We have a similar situation on the A75. Does that at the Glen at Dumfries, and the A1. Somewhere down there, overtaking lanes become dual carriageways. It
can be confusing for people. People who are not familiar with the area coming off of that may still presume that they are on a carriageway dedicated to them, if they've not been paying attention or whatever. And then all of a sudden you have traffic coming in the other direction. So you go from that split carriageway or separate carriageway, to a combined one.
Speed limits.
Yeah,
speed limits. Well, as long as you sign it properly.
Yeah, because the national speed limit applies to cars driving 60 mile an hour on a even on overtaking lane. A lot of people don't realise
it's 60. It's a single carriageway, so it's still 60.
Yeah, but then you're 70
lanes.
When you're on a dual, so it can cause some issues there. But I do like the audacity of it and the fact that it goes from this dual to the 2+1 and then back to that.
It's one of these permissive 2+1s as well, where if you're heading north, you can cross over it. The line is broken. I mean,
I have done
with the vegetation. You can't see very well, so it's not something I've done. But you are allowed.
I have done it
to use the middle lane.
Yeah.
What was it like? Tell us all about it.
It was cool, and it's legal to do it.
Yes,
if
the line's broken,
very clear to do so. So there we go. South of Heatherfield roundabout, the road is single carriageway, and an overbridge with a spare span on the east side suggests this was built in a way that dual carriageway could be provided in the future. The final 1.5 miles have the road sweeping east before a long straight built up on a large embankment. It is a large embankment. You don't realise it, but that would have been probably quite expensive and difficult to do. And it then leads you right down a hill to the busy Boghead roundabout, where the 801 basically meets the old A8 road, which is known by many numbers, the 706 and 7066. There's loads of arms of that roundabout. It can get pretty busy. Interesting thing. See the northern point before it goes to the Avon Gorge, Westfield roundabout. Looking at the maps and the documents we've got about this road, it's actually referred to as Walhouse Muir roundabout.
Interesting.
It's one of these ones you love an original name.
Okay, original name, indeed.
Cool. Right, let's crack on. I've got the the last
wee
section.
bit, yeah.
So this is from Boghead Roundabout down to the M8 and the A705. This was actually done as part of the M8 scheme, the deckment to Whitburn, and it was designed by Alexander Gibb and partners, and it was Watlings who built this. So this was actually done at the same time as the M8. The photos,
just to provide connections to the A8.
Yes, this was done as part of those works to link everything up. This opened on 23rd of September 1969.
It's an older section, and would of course have become a key component in the northern section of the Fastlink scheme from M74. I've jumped in, haven't I?
Well,
and he's going to tell us about that.
You've ruined it, Stuart. So we're just going to have to, oh well. No, it's fine. No, you're signposting of what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, that's true. But talk about this wee bit first. Talk a wee bit about the Faslane.
Because you educated me about this recently.
Yeah, so we'll see how much time we have left. So it was constructed as part of the M8 works, right? Established that in 1969 and served the purpose of getting traffic to and from. Between Boghead roundabout and the junction with the motorway, the short, straight, single carriageway section has one intermediate junction. There's a roundabout they added in the 90s here for the M8 junction for business industrial park. Contains distribution centres and stuff. So after passing beneath the M8, there's a roundabout interchange in the form of a roundabout. The road continues for a very short section and it goes over the River Armand before terminating on the A705 and this kind of channelized, signalized junction that really is the same as when it opened. What's interesting here, though, and I point this out to you, Stuart, is that the underbridge for the River Armand contains a much wider wing wall than is needed. It's obviously meant to accommodate an additional deck for dual carriageway should that be needed. Keep an eye out for that. If you're travelling between those two, you can see that.
I will do.
And you mentioned this, Stuart. It's interesting because this was originally like to tie in with what was planned as the northern part of the M8 M6 Fast Link.
Yeah,
that was proposed decades earlier and ultimately cancelled in the very early 2000s. And we do have a fantastic podcast on that about the road that never was, So this road would have played a part in that.
Fascinating. Thank you very much.
I hopefully kept to time there.
We're on the clock, but that was good. A good insight.
Thank
there
you
into
for letting me talk about
the history of that.
No, that was interesting.
I hope one of you is going to be producing a web page on that road because there is obviously a lot of info there. Even with
Duncan has said he's
Duncan's going to do that. Good.
Again.
Right, well, we'll look forward
I'll
to
put
that
it on my list
in the new year. Hopefully,
of everything else. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm conscious of time, so we're going to move back to our our listener questions because we have a lot more of them to get through. Let's see if we can get an interesting one first rather than
a weird one.
Ridiculous.
I want to write controversial ones, Stuart.
Controversial. John wants controversial, right? Okay. Right. Well, here's a controversial one then for you, and this is from Callum Parry on Facebook. Would introducing a smart motorway or a dynamic hard shoulder on the dual two-lane sections of the M8 in the Central Belt be a cheaper solution than conventional widening? Or are smart motorways not favoured in Scotland on safety concerns? This route is crying out to be 3 lanes each way.
Yeah, it needs to be 3 lanes. But his question, thanks for the question first, Callum, is would it be cheaper? Yeah, it would, because you wouldn't have land acquisition. Because you'd be just repurposing the hard shoulder.
You'd have to rebuild the hard shoulder.
You'd have to this is what people don't realise. It's not just a paint job. So you'd have to, you need to strengthen it.
Because it's not designed as a running lane.
And what about the gullies, the drains? You need to sort. If you
yeah.
look at any of these schemes in England, big drainage works. What they've often done as well is they've put concrete barrier in the central res and narrowed the central res borrowing space from that. Cheaper? Yeah.
Maybe not cheaper. I mean,
when you think of it, it might not be much.
Yeah,
doing traditional.
And the other thing we have to consider is that actually, alongside much of the M8 and the M74 sections that are 2 lane, there's actually nothing there. It would be quite easy to squeeze.
Land acquisition costs are higher now.
Yeah, and when they looked at the sort of widening options back in the 1990s, they were, as part of the commissions to the consultants that were going to come in, they were looking at them, being able to squeeze it within the existing boundary to reduce on those acquisition costs.
Yeah.
So that would have been quite interesting. But that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I was a bit disappointed by a comment below this because Alistair Gilchrist, who's a long-term sort of follower of the website.
Name I recognise.
He responded, if you've ever experienced smart motorways in the English Midlands, you would never suggest such a thing.
Okay.
Unless you drive a Sherman tank. I thought that was That was a bit unfair, Alistair.
Sir
Callum
Alexander.
asked a very valid question there. You know, these are the sorts of interactions you get in social media.
This is funny though, but I've been on the ones in England. I was actually surprised, Duncan, of the one in Staffordshire.
Yeah.
It
The
actually worked.
M6, they widened the M6.
I didn't see anyone broken down. Might be different in that case.
Karen Cairns helpfully points out actually that sections of the M8 around the M77 don't have a hard shoulder to use already.
Yes,
You do
very,
have
very
limited
true.
capacity in areas, so it would be tricky.
The Irvine bypass, 3 lanes, doesn't have a hard shoulder.
Yeah.
No one's crying about that.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I think we've covered that one. Facebook again, Douglas Conway. Hello, Douglas. What is Santa's preferred road to transverse Scotland when dropping presents off? And does he agree that the Glasgow Roads plan should have been completed, as a life would have been so much better? Well, Douglas, I am going to just answer that very quickly and very simply by saying yes. Santa would have preferred to traverse the west of Scotland on the Paisley to Hamilton to Cumbernauld motorway, but sadly, because it wasn't built, he stuck on the M8 through Glasgow.
Right.
So yeah, that is a real shame. Life would have been much easier, much better.
last time I checked, Stuart, I thought Santa had like reindeer and a sleigh and flew over all of these things. You know?
Don't, you know,
Don't ruin it now.
pour cold water on Douglas's genuine
No, actually,
question.
he just jumps on the trunk roads, really, you know. Next thing you're going to see, Santa's probably subbies it out to UPS.
or every, if he's looking to save a bit of money. Other parcel providers are available. We're cheeky about any of these providers. You get us sued, Mr. Hassall. Yeah. Okay. Good one, Douglas. I think that was
interesting.
fairly well answered. Right. Okay. So a more sort of serious one. This one's for you.
Right,
Mr.
okay,
Macknight, all right.
okay.
And this is from James Mackay, also of Facebook. And James asks, what do you think of my idea of building an AWPR style expressway route from Windy Edge on the A9 south of Broxton to the Kirriemuir junction of the A90? This would relieve pressure on Broxton, Inveralmond, and all of the Dundee roundabouts and junctions, as well as shortening the distance between Aberdeen and the Central Belt.
So a Perth Northern bypass on steroids, basically.
Is this basically an upgrade of the A94?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the A94 was
improved,
improved,
yeah.
so it wouldn't be too difficult. I think it's a good idea. I think the Crosstail Link Road is yet to be fully completed, so we are yet to see the benefits of what that will bring to the A9 at Inveralmond, which is Boxton on all sides now, so it's quite
There's a
difficult to
little
do
link
anything.
missing that they're building right now.
It is getting built, so that's stage 4 or 5 after the bridge.
So we can
I'm yet to see
bypass
that.
Inveralmond.
I like these crazy ideas, but back in reality, it's a bit different.
Do you know what it would do? It'd solve the problem with the Dundee bypass.
Yeah, which is kind of what he's alluding to there, isn't it? But I mean, we're 60 years too late for big proposals like this, I think.
Yes.
Because it costs so much money.
Tearing up the countryside for new.
And then you have to do
direct
things like
links.
public inquiries and you didn't have to do that in the 60s.
No.
Plow on. Yeah.
I have the perfect question here from for John Hassall, not from John Hassall. John's not putting
I'll start sending
For
Putting in
questions
his questions.
Go for it.
and this is from, again, one of these daft names. Sorry if it's you don't consider it daft. It just looks daft. Law Yumi on Facebook.
Nice one.
It's more a statement than a question, but I think I get the gist of what they're getting at.
Right.
History, feedback, and thoughts on Anniesland Cross.
Okay. Oh, just as an experience.
I presume so.
As using it. A junction that's always described worse than the actual experience of using it. It's one of these things that it's very strange. You know, you're coming up, you're going north, and you want to go right, but you got to go left.
You've got to go left to go right.
You know, so if somebody tries to explain this to you, it sounds horrendous. You know, but it's one of these things when you actually use it. But I find one of the things about Anniesland Cross, I think it's signed very well.
Gantries, isn't it?
It's got gantries. Perfect. Here's the one thing that some people have said: pedestrian transversing that junction can be very, very difficult.
That is a challenge.
Yes.
But I'm going to say this to the people on foot or on bikes who have a moan about this. See, if it was a massive roundabout, it'd be worse. You know, at least you've got signals in there that
You've
sort
got
of allow a
opportunities for kind of
controlled-
hopping across, yeah.
Be nice to have an underpass. Where would I put the underpass if I was going to put it there? Would I put it on the 82? Maybe. But originally the underpass was actually to go
North-south.
from north-south, the 81, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I like it.
I think it's
John
cool.
Cullen said to me, because I asked him about it, he went, 5 roads. He says, that's always tricky. You know?
5 busy roads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I knew you'd be able to answer that one. We've discussed that at length. Now, Andrew Ronald is a good friend of us,
Okay.
of the archive. generally online, he has submitted a few questions, right? So I'd like to get through a couple of these, and if we can do them in quick fire, that would be great,
Let's
guys.
go for it.
Just conscious of time, and I'm keen to get through as many of these questions as possible.
Okay.
So Andrew's asking, when you build a new motorway or dual carriageway, do you deliberately build in points where you can cut through the central reservation or barriers to facilitate contraflows, carriageway works in the future? Is there a standard distance between potential crossing points? Does this explain why contraflows can be much longer than the actual carriageway works in progress? This is a perfect question for John.
Yes, they do deliberately build them in. And yes, there are set distances. And those set distances have changed. I don't know what they are. Off the top of my head, I need to look into the Standards for Highways Design Manual.
Yeah.
But we have found it's the size of the crossovers that can be an issue. When they built these in the 60s and 70s, they're just not big enough.
There's a real zigzag, some of them, to get round.
Real zigzag. So we've had to make new ones
Big, broad.
as a result of them. But yes, no, they are designed. It's all part of like CDM now, which is a construction design management system of you're building something, but how do you maintain it?
Yeah. And making it as safe as possible for users.
Yeah. You see them a lot on bridges and things, either side of bridges, to help with contraflows and things and works. So
Andrew has a second question. And it's perfect for you, this one.
Perfect for me.
In September, we posted pictures of weathering steel bridges at Car Bridge. Okay. Given the fact that these are in effect exposed rust, are there limitations as to where you can use them? For example, proximity to water courses and high use of winter road treatment, etc., compared to painted structures?
I think the idea was one of these great ideas. I think when they were building A9, they said, let's put a lot of these in. So there's quite a number in the A9. I think some of them have worked better than others. Yeah. I think if there are the issue with them is if you're at expansion joints or you've got drainage and it's leaking and it's water running onto these girders, as we see quite a lot in bridge maintenance, that can affect it. But when it's just sort of sitting and it's air exposed and rain.
Well, that's it. And I mean, the theory behind weathering steel generally is that the patina that forms on the surface of the exposed steelwork actually it provides a protective layer.
Yeah.
So you're controlling the rate of corrosion. It's very slow.
It's very slow.
Very slow. It can be exacerbated by salty water.
Yes.
So you need to ensure, like you say, that your drainage is working well and that the water is shedding appropriately so that doesn't become an issue. But yeah, I mean, compared to painted steel structures, I don't think there's much difference in terms of the life.
It helps a bit with the maintenance as well.
Weathering steel's still been rolled out widely down south. On the English road network, for example. There's a few down there.
Sighthill Bridge on the M8, that's where
what about when people graffiti it, though? It's a nightmare to get that off.
Well, no, because you can use high pressure water and
jet
remove
it
off.
You need the Bowser and the jetter for that.
So he's putting his maintenance hat on. He's making excuses already for why we
work hat on. We're not at work, John.
It's easier than the roller.
So no, it's interesting.
They're interesting. We've got some papers and things that talk about them. So
now, there's another couple of questions here from Andrew, which I'm going to dodge just for the moment, Andrew. Hopefully, if we've got time, we'll come back to them, but they need just a bit of consideration for the answers.
Sure. Okay.
One for John from Ethan CC on Facebook. Will they ever make the M74 route fully dual 3 lanes?
I don't have any insider knowledge on that one. Yes, I think it should be good. Also, from a maintenance point of view, it does look very old and tired.
Absolutely no proposals for that.
No proposals, to be honest with you.
One for Duncan from Peter McMahon on Facebook. Any plans for a bypass of Rosyth to Kincardine or to upgrade to motorway status?
Dropped in the 90s, unfortunately. We've heard nothing else since. I think the council are quite keen for it.
Yeah.
Because all the infrastructure, the space is there.
The people of Rosyth are very keen
People of Rosyth, Would that cause problems at Masterton with all the traffic at that junction? Probably. But I would think
it's fully grade separated at Marston.
Yeah, but you've got space with the next junction, so it may cause issues there. But as a road, I would say it's probably one that I would pop in.
Okay. Roy Tate has submitted the perfect question for me, actually, on Facebook, and he says the newer Glasgow-style overhead sign gantries, such as those in the M74 extension, have what appear to be sliding doors and hatches on the rear, positioned above each running lane, and he's provided a screen grab from Google Street View. What is or was their intended purpose? It says, for example, provision for toll readers, cameras, traffic monitor equipment like that, or he sees them on the rear.
You're the perfect person in the world to answer that.
They're on the rear of the Kingston Bridge gantries as well. Well spotted, because a lot of people
not
don't
notice
details like this. You've not noticed that,
no,
right?
I've not noticed. I'm usually looking forward.
Yeah, you need to have a look.
I'll have a little look around
for that. Yeah, I mean, you see them in the adjacent carriageways you're passing.
Okay.
And he's absolutely right. They are just for monitoring equipment, particularly for congestion monitoring. The ones in the Kingston Bridge, they monitor traffic. A lot of the time, the sort of traffic speeds and the like are to do with, loops in the road. But in some cases, we put it on mounted equipment, and that's exactly what the purpose of them was for. So, well spotted, Roy. Well spotted.
Interesting.
We have a wee bit of time, so I'm going to just do perhaps one more Let me just see if I can find an interesting one for each
We
of
have
you.
loads.
I know
Loads.
there are
A few, yeah, quite a few,
so many here.
We don't normally get this to pick.
Yeah.
You
Oh, another one, sorry, I should probably answer. Stephen Robb on Twitter, X, had said his grandfather, Graham L. Robb, was a senior engineer for the Ministry of Transport in Edinburgh between 1954 and 1958.
Right.
How can I find out what he did in that role? Stephen, it's difficult, that one. I would suggest an email to the National Records for Scotland and Edinburgh. If there are any records of what your grandfather did or anywhere, they would be in there. But, good luck with that. I suggest reaching out to them. Neil Cuthbert on an X also asked a question which we just simply don't have time to answer, but just acknowledge it. What roads in Scotland are operating beyond their intended capacity to the greatest extent, and what can be done about that? That's a podcast in itself.
That's a podcast.
For
a quick answer, look at Google in the mornings.
Yeah.
Look at Google in the red lines.
A96. Yeah,
any of the main lines on the map to some extent, I would say in that case. Yep. So that covers that one. Let me see, anything else? Again, there's a couple other ones here that would be great to answer, but they require a lot of consideration.
Shall we bank them?
We can. I'm sure we can come back to them. Right. If you were in Alistair Wade Facebook, if you were in charge of transport policy, what road or public transport projects in Scotland would top your list? Mine would be the Glasgow Airport Rail Link, he says. So again, that could be a podcast.
Public transport. I'd look at like the Clyde Metro or something.
So I'm sure we can come back
Another
to
tram line.
There are some gaps in the schedule next year, so we could slot some in. So you never know.
Why don't we do that? Bank some of them for the next one.
Yeah, so this one's for John, right? We will answer this one. This is from Jonathan Turse, who's a regular questioner on the podcast. So when you compare trunk road operations and design between south and north of the border, what do we get right? And is there anything we can learn from national highways? I'm thinking, for example, TRIS versus traffic officers, or the old HATOs.
Yeah, let's just speak about that. Yeah, because they've got red lights and they can stop traffic. The TRIS that we have a board that comes up to say,
the big flashing board.
Big flashing board that comes up, but they don't really have a legal power, or they don't, to actually stop traffic. Whereas HATOs, or HETOs as they're called, the Highways Agency Traffic Officer, the ones that everyone thinks are police, but they're not, they can actually do rolling roadblocks and stuff like that. That's something we could learn from them. I also think from the other side, winter maintenance in Scotland, we obviously get that sort of weather.
Yeah.
England does tend to struggle a little bit with these things. So from a resilience point of view, because we have more extreme weather and impactful weather especially in winter, that's something
well ahead of the game.
They could learn. They do have storms and they do have other things, but we also have a really good system where the operating companies all get together, the multi-agency response team and things like that. I'm not sure if
we are world leading on that.
World leading on things like resilience,
absolutely,
and stuff. A lot of our time and work goes into this.
Easily the best in Europe for that resilience response.
Well, we've had some bad events happen over the years, so we've learned, and it is.
We
good.
get everything.
I think we do. It'd be nice to work closely with them south of the border to find out more things.
Yeah, we'll do that. Could possibly be a future podcast. Anyway, out of time now for listener questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted one. I'm sorry we didn't get through them all. We will revisit them in a future episode because I say there were some really interesting ones there, and as Duncan says, possibly even some we could be squeezed into the schedule. For the next couple of minutes, I'm just going to talk about the 60th anniversary of the start of construction on the Glasgow Inner Ring Road, or the M8 as it is today, through Glasgow City Centre, because it was in December 1965, and I think it was the 5th of December 1965, that construction began up at the Townhead interchange, when the Secretary of State for Scotland came and attended a sort of soil cutting ceremony just to mark the start of construction. And what followed was 7 years of intensive construction on building the M8 through the city centre. Now, Townhead was the first urban motorway project in Scotland.
It was.
And one of the first in Britain, because we weren't really building many urban motorways in Britain at that time either. So we were out there. There were some features at Townhead interchange that had never been seen before in Scotland. Flyovers, in an urban area, for example, that was still a new thing. The idea even of motorways, I mean, the Hart Hill bypass and the Forth Road Bridge had only been open a year, at that point. So it was still a very new thing. In the west of the country, nothing was open yet. Okay, we were already building the Renfrew bypass. But for, actually being in a city area,
every city wanted their own urban motorways. Leeds even called themselves Leeds, the motorway city.
Motorways.
Exactly. Now, it's important to remember as well that the highway plan findings had only been made public just a few months prior, because it was in the summer of 65 that the plan was published properly. In fact, it was even into the next year before it was fully approved. So they moved pretty quickly. Now, Scott Wilson and Kirkpatrick, who I've mentioned already a few times in the podcast, were closely involved in the design of the road network in Glasgow, not just the inner ring road, but the sort of comprehensive highway study across the city. And they actually had the contract to design and supervise the construction of the Townhead section as well. So this was their first big construction project in Scotland, built by Marples Ridgeway, the contractor.
They didn't do a lot of jobs in Scotland, did they?
They did a lot of English stuff.
They've done a lot of English stuff.
They were also involved in joint venture on the Kingston Bridge with Duncan Logan.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. They didn't do much in Scotland. But they were the first contractor on the first urban motorway project in Scotland, and it only cost something like $3.5 million. Interesting. You might not know, but initially it was only the interchange itself and the connections to the road network, so Baird Street, Castle Street, all that sort of thing. But a few months into the project, there was a bit more money available, and they expanded the scope of the contract to include the first stage of the Woodside section, and that extended the motorway all the way down to what we now know as Junction 16 and the connections to Garscube Road.
Yeah, I was going to say it wasn't the viaducts, but it went down.
The original contract didn't envisage that work being done. It would have been handled as a separate section, but that was a sort of an extension to the contract.
One of the oldest parts of the M8 there. It's
cool.
And it's got some interesting features, a maze of underpasses and public walkways and the like.
There was an old railway tunnel they had to go over there as well, which I think is capped off
it's
now.
Capped off,
and that's now where the current big Sighthill footbridge is.
So an interesting first one. It's hard to guess 60 years. I mean, that's
so that whole area though was, because I've seen the pictures of this and it's raw. Of like, because it's near like, was it Pinkston Power Station was in the area as well. But that was all part of the comprehensive development area. That whole part of Townhead was full of housing they deemed
unsuitable,
uninhabitable, slum housing or whatever it was, and they were going to move all that away.
Easy to clear it away.
Look, we can fit the road here.
And the Woodside section that we mentioned there, much of that was built on the canal, the former Monkland Canal as well. Because
the canal goes under there in culvert, doesn't it?
So that was all done as well. So and it was eventually opened March 1968, into early April before it was fully operational. So just less than 3 years construction for that. Glasgow's first urban motorway project, 60 years old, start of construction.
60 years old.
Yeah. Hard to believe it seems no time ago since we were talking about 10 years ago, and it was the 50th anniversary. We had a piece in a couple of papers. I remember the Glasgow Times, or the Evening Times as it was then, ran a piece, and I know the Herald did as well, marking that as big thing.
They're very proud of it when it was all finished.
They were very, very proud of it at that site.
The end of the story for Townhead, though, wasn't it? It did have some alterations as years went on, and
it was expanded. It was expanded massively through the 70s and 80s into the interchange that we have now. Obviously intended as the main node of the north-east. Of the inner ring road, taking in filtering traffic from
the east flank,
from the Springburn Expressway, the Monkland motorway, the inner ring road north flank, and the inner ring road east flank, of course. Which
I don't care what people say about it. It's still my favourite M8 interchange.
It's
Glasgow.
Cool. It's cool. Is it all on 2 levels as well?
All on 2 levels, like all of the ring road.
Not like Texas where it's like way up here.
It was a John Cullen thing, because he did say it just fits much better with the environment. He had a way of doing this. It's part of the signature of him and his design team.
And nice tight radius slip roads and things like that, just minimising the amount of space required for these large interchanges where you can do manoeuvres in all directions. You compare Townhead interchange, say, with Bailston interchange or Maryville or even Hamilton interchange in the M74, M73, and the amount of space these junctions take up is huge in comparison.
But they were just building through fields and
national highways, and nationally in the UK, they're now the end thing is compact grade separated junctions. Cullen and Scott Wilson in Glasgow were doing compact grade separated junctions decades before that was the end thing.
They done it for aesthetic and environmental reasons, as opposed to now it's for economical reasons.
Exactly, and brought that from America, of course, where they'd built the freeways and they were squeezing these things into tight spaces. So, happy birthday! Is that right?
That's fine. That's fine. There's one another anniversary I would like to quickly mention, if that's all right. We also have in December 50 years of Ballahoolish Bridge.
Indeed,
we have to mention that. I think the local community they're running a lot of anniversary events. They built a little Lego model of the bridge. I think
we need a Lego model.
Of that. There's a Lego model, and I think they're trying to get the ferry back as well. And they do have some nice construction photographs. We're getting some construction photographs as well from National Archives of Scotland. We're getting all them scanned. So happy 50th to Ballyhoolish Bridge.
Watch this space for that. Duncan, just while you're speaking, it's probably a good opportunity to give a preview for 2026. So in terms of podcasts, first give us a sort of taster of what you've got planned for next year.
Well, in terms of podcasts, I think you're doing something on the highway plan. I think is it 60 years or something?
Yeah, we're going to do a wee revisit. John and I are going to have a chat on that.
John, you're taking charge of the A78.
Am I?
You're taking charge of it. It's 50 years of Irvine Bible. We've got a lot of anniversaries coming up.
Yeah, there are.
This is that, by the way, just to warn you, everyone, we don't have a huge amount of information on that one. So if you know about the A78,
Ayrshire stuff, Ayrshire dual carriages, get in touch. Yeah, so 50 years of Irvine bypass. So we cover that. Yeah,
I'm gonna like talking about it though.
Yeah,
cool.
We also have Kyleskew Bridge is on the cards as well. I'm going to have
Scotland's most beautiful bridge.
Yeah. And I think we're always going to talk about the A9 again. A9 scheduled in, but a slightly different type of the A9.
Taking that. And in terms of Scottish Roads Archive activities for 2026, I should just give a wee preview on them as well. So we have the Tay Road Bridge 60th anniversary.
That's a big one for
coming
us.
Coming up in August, so we'll have the usual celebrations for that. The Renfrew Motorway on the M8 turns 50 next year.
Oh, wow.
So that'll be a big thing for us. We'll have to do something on that.
Yeah.
We'll have the usual smattering of events and things in there. And of course, we should mention, of course, Duncan, the A9 book.
The A9
is
book.
coming.
It's coming.
It's going through its final stages of design.
Revised and changed a couple of times.
Because we want to get it right.
We want to get it right. We want to do a good job. Patrick is currently playing around with it just now. I'm hoping to get that out January, February, March, early in the start of the year.
Quarter 1, 2026. And of course, the Skye Bridge anniversary booklet.
That's coming as well.
Yeah. And the magnets as well. They're all
magnets are awesome.
Yeah. So we've got them coming along as well, and thanks for all the interesting questions on them so far. They are coming, and I hope you will enjoy them if you do pick one of them up. So what coming next year? It's really reaching the end of our special Christmas episode.
I don't have any more notes.
Sadly, we don't have much else unless there's any time for any other questions or points. But I have enjoyed this.
I really feel as though I should throw a couple of random questions at each of you just to make sure that you're still doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I think that's the perfect way to
love doing that.
Yeah. Air Road Route will be 30 years old next year as well.
M77,
M77,
that makes us feel blooming old.
Can you remember which day in December 1996 that road opened?
I think it opened on the 2nd.
No.
I'm totally wrong. Am I really wrong? Or
no, you're close.
Is it the 6th?
Well done. It was the 6th of December.
There we go.
We also have the 60th anniversary of the M74 Hamilton bypass next year. They're all
December.
coming back to me now in December next year.
We're having to think about what we could do for that. Yeah.
Can you remember what day in December that road opened?
December 1966. But when in December? Was it the 5th?
No. See,
8th?
No. You're
9th.
He's trying.
Just keep going.
No, he's way off the mark. It was the 2nd.
2nd of December 1966.
In fact, it opened at 12 noon.
See,
now how come I remember these facts and figures and you guys
because
don't?
you look at them every single day.
I know that Willie Ross opened it.
Yeah,
that's right. He cut the tart.
Do you know, guys? You want to feel old? See, not next year, but the year after. Queensford Crossing will be 10.
10 years.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, listen. Thank you both. Thank you, John. Thank you, Duncan. Thank you in particular for all your hard work this year and pulling all these podcasts together. There's been a lot of work done, a lot of facts and figures unearthed.
It never stops. Sure keep them going next year.
People appreciate the detail
and the travel all the way down.
Yep. I mean, we tried the online remote recording of podcasts.
Didn't work too well.
Didn't work too well. Yes, we heard your feedback. We are back together doing it now. We're even here in vision for you. So hopefully that has satisfied you all once again, and we will continue that through 2026. So thank you all for listening through the year. There have been tens, hundreds of thousands of you listening and downloading us this year.
We have fans.
Yeah, we do. We have people come up to us and tell us that they listen to this regularly.
No autographs yet. No. But if you want an autograph, that's fine.
I get stopped in the street.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Not for those reasons. Mostly to tell you you've not done some good work or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible, man. But on that note then, gents, I think we'll just wind up and we'll say goodbye. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed watching us if you did, or listening if you did as well. We will see you back in January for the next episode. Duncan, thank you. See you then. John, thank you. See you then. And goodbye for now.
Goodbye.